All right, welcome to another episode of Primalcast. I am your host, John Carden. I am with Nate Galloway. Nate, can you tell yourself a little bit about us?
So I am a full-time coach for Master Athletic Performance, working for Paul O'Neid and Olivia O'Neid. I've been doing that for I think it's 2 years now that I've been working for those guys. And then for the last 2 years, I've also been working in person at Foundation's chiropractic clinic, working and dealing with people that run into injuries and want to get back into training and prevent those injuries from occurring again.
Okay. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Where did you
Yeah.
work before all like the last few years? Like what were you doing before that in terms of like training and stuff? We'll get into the other stuff in a minute.
Yeah, so before that, I was working at Good Life Fitness over at the Rideau Mall. Was working with Stu Locke, which I'm sure a few of your listeners will probably know about. But yeah, I was working with Stu and even lived with him for quite a while, and that was how I got chatting to Paul. And then during the pandemic, I started working for Paul with his, at the time, was doing a MetroLife app.
Yeah,
We was trying to push that into more like veterans and stuff like that to see if we can get them journaling and
all the
talking a little bit more to help
yeah,
with some of the mental health crisis going on there.
yeah. And then it kind of just steamrolled into working for Matt, and then
Yeah,
it's where it is
yeah,
now.
and then from there, just I started working with Paul over the pandemic. I decided to transition to online instead of going back in person.
Yeah.
Just because it seemed like it was going to be an easier way to move forward with coaching in the future, just in case anything like this ever occurred. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then you've been working on the online stuff. Who do you work with like now in like your capacity with the online?
It's very varied, in all honesty. I work with a lot of people who want to join the military. Some people who are in the military and want to do sports like powerlifting whilst they're serving as well. On top of that, uh, some powerlifters. I have one client, Mia, who's heading over to North American powerlifting.
Nice.
I think that's next week.
That'll be next week or the week after, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of powerlifters, and then a few, well, a lot more people that are a little bit like me who are dads who want to stay
You know,
training and stay strong and all the rest of it and compete as well. So yeah, very varied, even high rocks clients and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's super varied. But like that's generally how it is as a trainer, right? So you're always gonna have
yeah, yeah, I don't want to box myself into a niche, especially as like I've got so much more experience outside of powerlifting as well that I want to help other people with too. So
yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that. So you were in the military. Like tell us a little bit about like the early days and like kind of how you went into the military and like what drew you to it.
yeah, so what drew me to the military, it's a bit of a family tradition where I'm from. For instance, my great grandfather, Sergeant Galloway, served in World War I with the Tyneside Irish. My other grandfather was in the army, and then the other grandfather was in the Navy. My dad served in the Royal Air Force. My brother joined the Navy after I started in the army. And then on top of that, my brother even ended up becoming a detective with the police force. So all of us, in some capacity, have believed in service and discipline and stepping up. On top of that, growing up, we didn't do typical beach holidays. Our summers were spent walking battlefield tours, visiting war museums, meeting a lot of the World War II veterans, like the guys, like the actual band of brothers and stuff like that, the D-Day memorials over in France. And then like the people that I looked up to wasn't like your typical like soccer players or sports players or celebrities and stuff. It was people
Like
that were
general
actually
stuff.
involved in that and there.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, I grew up in like a pretty turbulent time in the UK. Terror attacks happened regularly enough that going to the city felt like quite a bit of a risk. For instance, I was born in 93, and in 93, the IRA was still conducting terrorist attacks then. In 96, you had the Docklands bombings. In 99, you had the London nail bombings. And then in 2005 was the big one, which was the July 7th London bombings, which was pretty much our version of 9/11 in reality. Uh, and then even events after that, like a concert in Manchester, became targets, the Ariana Grande concert and stuff like that. So that was the backdrop of my youth, knowing that a day trip into London or Manchester could have deadly consequences. And that uncertainty shaped my mindset. And I wanted to be someone who could respond, protect, and prevent that terror from spreading. So for me, joining the military wasn't just about honor and pride, it was about becoming a part of the solution. So I joined the Rifles because they stood for what I believed in. And unlike regiments in the British Army who focus a lot on ceremonial duties, spit shining boots, wearing those nice red coats outside of Buckingham Palace, the Rifles wore green and cared very little about presentation. It was all about fieldcraft, agility, and above all, marksmanship. And that was our identity: fast, agile, and elite sharpshooters with a deep sense of heritage.
Wow. So that's a lot.
Yeah,
But that
yeah.
makes a
There's
lot of sense.
lots of things that added to it, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And then like that, like, because people could go two ways with that, right? You could go positive or you could go like very negative.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I wanted to do something positive and at least contribute rather than shy away from that. So
Yeah, because some people will just like completely shy away and pretend it doesn't exist. Other people will like become very violent about it or
yeah,
like take a
yeah, like
positive.
very aggressive towards the
Yeah.
people that are conducting it, sort of thing. Yeah, I definitely see both sides in that, and I think at the minute we're living in a time of quite a bit of calm where we're not seeing that sort of thing. But at any moment that could become the norm again or a regular occurrence. So good idea to keep on your toes.
Yeah, and I think like for you, it probably gives you a very different perspective of how to like handle things and like when you see people struggling, because there's a lot of people that struggle mentally these days. Like, is that something you try to work on as a coach? I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, so the mental aspect is like a big part of my coaching. I don't want to just give people a program and say, hey, do this exercise, do that exercise. I want to ask and see what exactly issues they're running into mentally, whether it be like I'm intimidated by the weight or I panic whenever I have to decide what sort of weights I should be doing in regards to RPE and stuff like that. So like for me, I recommend like homework to a lot of clients. I'll give them books, for instance, and say, hey, this book might actually help deal or sort of address and give you a bit more perspective on some of the issues that you're having here. So it'd be a good idea to go read this, and they do go read it, and they get lots of benefits from it. So stuff like that. And then on top of it, like trying to tap into like driving people and keeping them motivated. So, for instance, like something that I do a lot with my clients is I have like a motivation checklist that I put into their app on a daily basis. And it just asks them what their goal is right now. Why does this goal matter to you personally? What is
Mm.
one thing that you need to complete today to aid that goal? What obstacles are going to get in your way? And what are the systems for dealing with those obstacles? And then just by doing that, it gives the individual an opportunity to reconnect with their goals on a daily basis, remind themselves of the purpose why they're getting up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym, and all the rest of it. So it just keeps everything like very fresh in their mind, sort of thing. And then at the end of the day, only two questions: did you act in line with the person that you want to become?
Mm.
And what was today's win, even if it was small or just overcoming an obstacle that was thrown your way?
I like it. It's very smart. Like it makes sense because like I think people make things very complex in their
Yeah,
own ways. Yeah.
yeah, like trying to find different ways or like the snazzy way of motivating and stuff like that. But like most of it is just reconnecting with that goal and having a purpose with that goal is probably the biggest one too. A lot of people will come into the gym when I was working at Good Life, for instance, and say, I want to get lean or I want to get jacked. And it's like,
Like
well,
why? Yeah.
why? What is the purpose behind that? What is that going to do for you? Oh, it's going to give me more confidence, or it's going to help me potentially find a partner, or all the rest of it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So there's always a deeper reason as to
Mm.
why somebody say these like very, very sort of basic answers.
Mm.
So it's up to the trainer and the coach to really do some digging and find
Yeah.
out what's the deep reason behind that goal. Like, what do you actually get from it? So yeah.
Okay. So one question, did this come to you just from your experience? Is this something you had to work through to kind of like learn this on yourself?
The goal wise or the
The the all of it, like the goal
all
wise,
of it.
like how to put it together kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so it's actually something that was taught to me whilst I was in Good Life. I was fortunate enough to have a really, really good manager called Anthony Johnson when I was working there.
Mhm.
And it was part of the sales tactic that we were sort of taught. And
Oh, yeah,
I
motivational
absolutely,
individual.
yeah, and I absolutely hate doing sales. Like they are the worst thing on planet Earth. But when I was working at Good Life, you only had 60 minutes to sell personal training to somebody if you had the opportunity to sit down with somebody.
Yeah.
20 minutes of those is finding out about people's goals. Another 20 minutes of that is taking somebody out onto the floor and giving them a bit of a pump and some exercises to do so that they feel awake, coming like they've done some hard work. And then another 20 minutes to sit down and close a sale and sell to somebody. So if you're not sitting down and finding out the purpose behind their goals
The
and
real
giving them a
purpose.
reason to actually invest and purchase training, then they're
Mhm.
not going to do it. And like my sales tactics were very, very simple. I would do that at the beginning, do the goal setting, say, hey, we're going to work on this together, set out a plan, go out, get a pump. And then the last 20 minutes was literally just me showing them the prices and saying, if you'd like to work with me as a personal trainer, here's a rough guide of the prices. Is there something there that you would be able to afford? No. Awesome. If you ever need me again, I'll see you on the floor. And 9 times out of 10, those people that you build a connection with, rather than pushing it, 6 months
Mhm.
later, if you continue to build a relationship with them, they'll eventually sit down and talk about training again at some point.
Right.
So that's kind of why I don't push it hard in that sort of sale.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, just trying to find something that works for them. I've seen a lot of clients, especially at Good Life, get pushed into like
Oh, yeah.
purchasing
Big packages.
packages
Yeah.
that are insanely expensive and that last for a year and then they're in debt for the entire time.
5 days a
And
week
it's,
for a year. Yeah, I've seen.
yeah, and that's a pretty negative experience to come away from with Good Life.
Yeah.
So it's like making sure that you are doing what's best for the client rather than what's best for your back pocket there. So
Yeah, I like it. I think it comes from like the purpose and the experiences that you had, right?
exactly,
It comes
exactly.
into that. And then like, did you just stumble upon personal training or was that like a plan thing?
No, so I guess I'll get into like why
Yep.
sort of moved to Canada and sort of left the army a little bit. But one of the big reasons why I started working at Good Life was I literally moved to Canada shortly after leaving the army and competing in a Canadian armed forces shooting competition. I had visited Canada like quite a few times. I'd been out to Alberta to do an exercise out on the prairies there, which was lots of fun in the freezing cold. And then went over to Ottawa in 2017 to do the big international shooting competition there, and then competed again in 2018. And after that, I decided I was going to leave and stay. But every time I visited Canada, it just felt like this place was moving at my pace. A lot of the
Okay.
food that we eat is the food that I like.
Mhm.
Uh, Big one is the space as well. Like in the UK, everything's very compact and
Yeah.
condensed on top of each other. And it's been like that for a really long time and getting worse. Whereas Canada, there's so much space, and then everything isn't built on top of each other unless you're in Toronto.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even then, it's still pretty easy to get out of Toronto and get out into some nature nearby. Whereas in the UK, if you lived in London, you'd be driving hours to get away from the city, sort of thing. So
It just spreads. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So here, very, very spaceful. And then on top of it, like in the UK, there's a heavy drinking culture there, and that is something that I wanted to get away from.
Fair.
It's almost frowned upon if you don't drink in the UK. So
Yeah. I guess that.
the societal pressure there to go out every single weekend, and that's just what everybody does. It doesn't matter
They
what
go to
group
the
of friends
pubs
you
and
have.
just, yeah.
Exactly, everyone's going to
Fair.
the club and getting wasted at the weekend,
Yeah.
sort of thing. And then on top of it, like me and my family are like very spread out. For instance, like my dad lives in Saudi Arabia, my brother lives over in Scotland, my other brother lives in London, and then my mom and my sister still live in my home sort of village, Coningsby.
Mhm.
Uh, so every time I came here, it just felt a lot more like home because home has always been
It's
very
all.
out for me
Yeah.
and all over. Yeah, especially growing up with my dad in the military.
Oh yeah, that
We
was
moved every like 2 to 3 years to a different place, a different school, like UK, Germany, Wales, Germany again, back to the UK. I think before I was 16, we had probably moved about 8 times in that entire period. So yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
very different childhood then. That's good.
yeah, fairly different. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But at the end of the day, I think it gave me a lot of the tools, mental resilience wise, especially
Mhm.
to adapt and go to a new place and say, especially like moving to Canada as well, which would be very daunting for a lot of people. For me, I've moved 100 times before, so this was
I was
nothing
like,
new. Yeah,
yeah, I
exactly.
do this.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So that gave me that moving around gave me a lot of confidence and an ability to like move somewhere new and make new friends, and progress rather than just sort of being sad and missing the
Looking
old.
at it as like a bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Harder thing to do. Yeah.
exactly. And then after I moved here, sorry, I mentioned my great grandfather, Sergeant Galloway, and he was injured in World War I and was sent back home, and he actually became a physical training instructor after doing that.
Mhm.
After being on the front lines in the Somme, and he trained all of the new recruits physically to get prepared to go out to World War I and all the rest of it. So it was kind of already something in the family as well, on top of the military side of things. But when I moved here, I literally just started working out at the nearest Good Life, and then got talking to one of the employees there, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for a job," and they said, "Hey, we got openings." So I thought I would give it a go at Good Life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like sometimes things just happen. Like people think there needs to be grand plans, but
No, no, I didn't really have too much of a plan when I left, in all honesty. It was literally just move to Canada, find a job, and then from there figure it out.
fair.
I knew that I wanted to get into coaching in some capacity because whilst I was in the military, I did do some physical training. I was the physical training instructor for the regimental shoeing team, which meant taking us out for strength and conditioning sessions and stuff like that. Um, I didn't do the full PTI course, as just before I was thinking about leaving, they decided to tell me that I needed to promote, but that promotion wasn't going to happen within that time.
Mm.
So I asked if I could go as acting corporal, which meant I would be stepping up, not getting paid any more money, but doing a heavier and higher job than what I was already doing. And they turned around and said, "Yeah, we're not going to do that." And they had done that a bunch of times for other people. And I said, "Okay, well, I,
Yeah.
I guess I'm leaving then." So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Seems like it's working out really well though.
it is. Yeah, I definitely think that this has worked out a lot better than staying in. It's given me way more opportunities, and that's kind of the thing with being in the military as a PTI is your wage is still set to what they give you. You don't make any extra money from working harder than everybody else. Same for you
Whatever your rank
know,
is, kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, and you don't get any less for working less than anybody else, sort of thing. So for me, it was kind of one of the biggest gripes about the military was the fact that there was such a varied group of individuals that you could be the hardest worker there, but you're not going to get anything over the people that are sitting in their rooms, dodging work, playing PlayStation the entire time. So that was kind of a big incentive for me to go out on my own and get away from the military. It was like, I can work harder and make more money by leaving this job rather than being set at this particular wage.
That makes sense. And I feel like for you, like you're very resilient and you like to work hard. So I feel
Yeah,
like if people aren't, it kind of like makes you feel like, what's the point?
exactly. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
aggravating to see somebody else do the bare minimum effort, and then somebody else to put in 100% work and not get anything back
I
from it.
would, I would imagine there'd be some hierarchies and stuff there as well. And like some like oligarchy or whatever you want to call it.
It is, yeah. It's there's lots of things going on with the military when it comes to like political correctness and correcting a lot of the sort of toxic behavior that goes on in the military.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was necessary, but at the same time,
Fair.
a lot of it was taken a little bit too far,
Hmm.
and became very restrictive over sort of just like casual things like being allowed to have a beer at nighttime on camp. eventually we was told we wasn't allowed to have any beer at night on the camp that we paid to stay on, sort of thing. So it's kind of just like I'm sacrificing basic rights just to be able to get paid the same as the guy who's doing absolutely nothing. So became fairly annoying towards the end. Yeah.
That's fair. And
Yeah.
then you just kind of decided, okay, this is enough of that, and we're gonna move on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't really see the military doing too much for the next little while, and the British Army, since I've left, still haven't done anything. The same as the Canadian Army since
Yeah.
2013, leaving the Afghanistan. It's been very, very quiet and not as many deployments. So it was just like, yeah, if we're not going to get sent anywhere, you're not going to do anything, you're going to pay me the same as somebody else who does less than me,
Mhm.
then I'm just going to head out the door, sort of thing. So
Yeah, and then if you look back at your purpose, it's to be of service. So you're not really being of service in the way you want to be at that point, right?
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, it was just like time, really. Yeah, it was just more of us doing sort of bone things that didn't really make any sense. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it seems like it gave you all the tools that you needed to do what you do now, right?
It definitely did, in all honesty. The big thing is like it didn't just teach me discipline; it
Mhm.
gave me a deep understanding of people,
Yeah.
the effort that they put in, and on top of it, like seeing good leadership as well has also helped develop my ability to lead people and stuff. So a huge part of my coaching style comes from what I learned in the army and from the leaders who brought out the best in me.
Hmm.
Um, Big thing is like the best leaders don't just bark and shout. They see the individual in the crowd and knows what to do to get them motivated and get them to where they want to be. One moment that really stood out to me when I was in the army that changed me was I was struggling with a lot of like the longer runs and the heavy rucks and stuff like that.
So endurance.
Yeah, yeah, great at the strength stuff. Absolutely no problem there. But a lot of the back when I started, a lot of the testing and assessments were a lot more cardio orientated, like how far you can run or how quickly you can run this distance.
Hmm.
And then most PTIs just told me to do the same thing and keep
Like
working
run more.
harder. Yeah, run more, go out every single day, sort of thing. Yeah, you're just not running enough, all the rest of it. And then one PTI sort of met me where I was at, and instead of shouting at me, he encouraged me to do strength training and CrossFit
Like
on
with
top of
fire
the
reps.
cardio.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he even spent his spare time coaching me and taking me to the gym and showing me how to do clean and jerks and
Wow.
all the rest of it. So like, and got into competing. And then that sort of gave me the confidence then to be able to help others. And then it took me from the back of the pack to leading, and then eventually I was representing my unit in British Army Warrior Fitness, which is a militarized version of CrossFit sort of thing.
So that'd be very competitive.
Yeah, very competitive. You go as like a team of three, and it'll be like a WOD that you have to do in a certain amount of time, or a one rep max front squat or deadlift and stuff like that. But all of that sort of building the foundation with weight training served such a great purpose for the cardio. For instance, like one of the assessments that we used to have to do was a mile and a half run, which had to be done in under 10 minutes. And I was struggling to get it under that 10-minute time. Introduced strength training. I eventually managed to deadlift like 500 pounds for the first time. And funnily enough, the week after, I shaved an entire minute off of the run time that I was doing before. So it just shows like strength training, even as like a
Very good.
runner. Yeah. And like people that are very cardio orientated can do absolute wonders for shaving off time and stuff like that, like it did for me. So, and that's one of the big things why I work with a lot of people who are joining the military as well is I want to help build that foundation so that when they get in there, they're not having to rebuild all of these tiny muscles to try and be better at running, sort of thing.
That's fair. I mean, I've even like I feel like it's probably like this with military. I work with a couple like BJJ athletes.
Yeah,
Like the stuff they do is like very cardio intensive, and they think that's what they need to do to like sweat and die. And
yeah,
then and I think that's probably the same thing with the military even more because they're probably like the drills are just. I mean, I visualize what I see in movies, which is like marching and the guy's just yelling at you. I don't know if that's real, but
yeah. It's not far off. It's a little quieter now, not as much shouting going on. But when I joined, it's a lot more like what you would have seen on sort of like Full Metal Jacket and stuff like that, like the waking up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I
And
remember that. I watched it.
yeah, yeah, that's a great movie, absolutely great movie. It was actually filmed in one of the camps in the UK that we still use, so we were
Oh wow,
staying on the Full Metal Jacket camp whenever we stayed
did
there.
not know that.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it was filmed in the UK. But yeah, yeah, that was sort of how it goes in the beginning. Like basic training is very full on and intense, but then when you get to your unit, things tend to calm down a bit. You tend to have company PT, which is every single day at like 6 or 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
If you wasn't going to the shooting ranges, but basic training is very kind of how you imagine it in the movies. Lots of screaming, lots of shouting, lots and lots of push-ups. So
I feel like that's just like a toughness thing,
it
maybe,
is
and
the big
general
thing
toughness.
with yeah, the big thing with the British Army is the whole goal of the basic training is to try and break
If you
you
break,
down if
you're
you're
not, you
absolutely
can be
nothing.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then from there they focus on rebuilding you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much how it works. It's pretty full on. One of the toughest things that we did when I was in was bayonet training. We call it sword training because my regiment calls it sword, not bayonet, but just heritage and tradition. But for instance, like you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and the corporals or the people in charge will come in with a big speaker blasting Moby Flower. So you got Bring Sally Up going on from 3 o'clock in the morning, and it will just be constant loops, running loops around the building that you're in, crawling outside, and then you go out onto the bayonet range after breakfast at like 7 or 8 in the morning after spending the last 5 to 6 hours running around, crawling and doing
Not sleeping. Yeah.
yeah, and then so you're already tired, you've already been beaten up, and then they expect you to charge in and close down on these targets with a bayonet attached to the end of your rifle and be able to thrust into it. When I was in training, they did some really cool stuff where they would fill a condom full of pig's blood and actually put it inside the dummies that we're stabbing. So when you thrust the bayonet in, the
You actually
condom
get covered in
bursts.
blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're getting sprayed back with fake blood, or they used to use pig's blood back in your face as you're doing it. So it's a little bit more realistic and stuff. But yeah, that was one of the tougher things that I can remember, and that goes on in basic training.
Wow. So you talked about like meeting people where they're at when you're a coach. So how does that kind of link with like being disciplined and like doing the tough things? Because like some people are into like this David Gogginsy like
Yeah.
type stuff. Is do you get or kind of what I'm getting at there?
Um, so
Because how do you mirror both of that, right? Because people need to get tougher
yeah.
generally, right? But then how do we do that, but then meet them where they're at?
So big one is just sort of seeing what challenges that they obviously face, and like some people's challenges are way less than what other people's challenges are, or like what they've been through, for instance. So like Good Life, that was probably one of the biggest things that taught me about meeting people where they're at, is like coming straight out of the military. And now I'm dealing with office workers that work for the government who,
That would be a definitely different.
yeah, very,
Yeah.
very different.
Yeah.
So from there, it was like, well, how do I scale things back and pull things back and just
So
sort of
about like
focus
carrying them
on,
out of the room. Yeah.
yeah, and focus on one small challenge. So for instance, like me going to the gym 4 times a week isn't a challenge because I've done that every single day of my life during the
Yeah.
military.
Yeah.
But
Fair.
for somebody that goes, that is an office worker that's never ever been to the gym and they're in their 30s, that's probably one of the biggest challenges that they face, is just getting to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. So a big thing for me is like starting small with these challenges and saying, hey, this week we're going to try and increase the amount of times that you can get into the gym. So instead of the expectation of twice a week, we're going to
Little,
aim
little
3 times a
preferences.
week
Yeah.
and then 4 times a week, and just build slowly on these challenges as they go. And then it can be done within the training as well. So for instance, like AMRAPs and stuff like that, and making people go and train till failure and stuff. I'd like that a lot, and use it a lot with a lot of clients, because I'll get them to send me a video and I'll say that wasn't an AMRAP, that was 3 to 4 reps from failure, sort of thing.
Yes, I get those responses all the time from Paul.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say Paul would definitely be the biggest one telling you you're not doing enough of that. But yeah, stuff like that is a really good gauge for me, because I could see, one, how
How
far
hard?
off they actually are from
Yeah.
it, sort of thing. And then we can tap into like, what's up? Are you intimidated by going to failure? Do you think something's going to happen, etc.? Are you scared of like getting injured, or the rest of it? Because those are the sort of things that I find also hold a lot of people back when they're doing those sort of exercises. Is like, they'll get to 2 to 3 reps and they're like, oh, I feel like I'm going to hurt myself. This is close enough to failure. Let's call it here. And
Like,
it's
you
like,
do like 20 more.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So lots of stuff like that, and just trying to push people and challenge them in their training, giving them obstacles that they have to overcome, like AMRAPs and stuff like that. And some clients I'll even put in WODs. Even my powerlifting clients, I'll do some sort of like conditioning work towards the end of their training, and that could be something like 100 kettlebell swings to do and stuff like that. And then they've got to challenge themselves to actually get through those kettlebell swings, sort of thing. So start small challenges. Even just nutrition side of things as well. That's the big challenge for a lot of people. So it's just small things like that. And then as they start building those habits, then we can start challenging them more through the training, throwing more obstacles in their way, making it tougher for them. And then from that, they'll feel gained more mental resilience.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It's pretty much exactly how I do it. I
Yeah.
came from like strength conditioning. Basically, the guy I learned from was like Paul, but probably more intense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
went into good life, and I was like, how do I talk to you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a
And
big
he would be
change.
like, you pissed your client off. I'm like, what did I do? I'm like,
Yeah.
I
You
just had to lift more
made
weight.
made them do too many push-ups, sort of thing.
Yeah. And then I
Uh,
learned how to
but
like just work with it.
Yeah, and to be honest, like those people that aren't willing or want to to sort of push themselves mentally like that are the people that just wouldn't last, and the sort of
Yeah.
people that just,
There's a bit of that too.
yeah, they're
Gotta meet
and
people
they're
where they're at, but you can't like baby them either.
exactly. You got to be honest with them, and sort of tell them as it is, and I think probably the biggest one for a lot of those people is like giving them more perspective on what actual hard is. That's why I tell a lot of stories in my newsletters about some of the stuff that I've seen and some of the things I've done, sort of thing. And just to sort of make people realize, oh, going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week is not the hardest thing in the world. And in fact, it's a privilege, and you should be grateful for the opportunity to go train, because a lot of people don't. So my big thing is like trying to change a lot of perspective as well on like a lot of these negative things, like, oh, I have to go to the gym. Like, no, bro, you get to go to the gym. Like, you get to
Yeah,
go
you
use
have
your leg.
probably like a very unique perspective compared to even like coaches on that, just because of your experiences.
Yeah, big
So
time.
you
Like,
really feel it more. Whereas other people, like we've been in, like you said, like a very safe time, and just the way the light world is now, we're probably in the best time of the world ever. In
yeah,
a
well,
way,
today's
if you
the,
actually
yeah,
look at it objectively.
yeah, compared to where we was even 5 to 10 years ago. Like, even just looking at the technology that we have to make people's lives easier now.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like people are in a very negative mindset.
But do you think we made it too easy? Because maybe that's something I've always like thought. Like I don't really say it too much, but I feel like in some ways, like yes and no, we can't blame the technology and the comfort though. And the
So there are definitely parts of technology that has made it too easy, and even drugs and pharmaceuticals, for instance,
ease.
like
They've
with
gotten
Ozempic, for instance. And
yep.
it's like a lot of people aren't going to, and I'm a believer that Ozempic isn't like a completely bad thing. There are people out there who are on death's doorsteps, who are dying of
Yep.
diabetes and all the rest of it, who need that drug, right? There are people
That
out
was
there
me.
who,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. There are people out there who need that sort of thing. But then there are sort of people that are out there who are just using it and abusing it to try and live a healthier lifestyle, but they're not actually addressing any of the unhealthy things that they do. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I'll still go out and drink every single weekend. I won't address that, but I'll take Ozempic to counteract
Or
it.
like crash diet themselves with it, basically.
Yeah, a lot of people will use it as a way to counteract the sort of bad habits that they're doing. And it's like, oh, I can eat a pizza because I'm on Ozempic, and it's like, well, no, like this is the entire reason why you're taking this. So maybe you should like sort of fix those habits. So I definitely think it has made, in certain aspects, things a little bit too easy.
Mhm.
And then I find like people have sort of like changed the way that they go about challenging themselves.
Yes.
It's more about like how much money I can make or how many hours I can work for this
Not
goal.
about being healthy or fit or and like
Exactly.
almost
Yeah.
like because I had a lot of clients that were like well off because I worked at like a big health club and I
Yeah.
noticed that and my other trainers be all this I'm like they're actually very good and successful at pretty much everything else
Yeah.
but this whole health thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's because we haven't stressed the importance of this
Mhm.
up until recently. I think the tide is changing. I'm starting
It
to see
is.
a lot of people
I'm
realize
seeing
that.
it.
Me, for myself, is like when I worked at Good Life, I was working 12 hours a day,
Yes.
5 to 6 days a week,
I
and I
think we
was
did the same.
overloading myself. It's exactly the same
Yeah.
thing. I was fortunate enough that I worked in the gym, and in my spare time, I could go work out at the same time.
At least you could do that so you could actually follow something you like at least.
Exactly. But for other people who do work those 12-hour days, who aren't in the gym, who can't go and work out in between, sort of
And
thing.
make it a 16-hour day just to go to the gym potentially.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's just like, well, maybe you need to sort of readdress life and sort of think about what's priority. People will always put money first until you sit down and say, hey, like maybe you have enough of all of this, and maybe that you should be focusing investing on this instead. Because what's the point in having all of that money if you're not going to make it past the age of 50 to see that retirement fund anyway? So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's I see it. I saw it myself quite a while. It was very
Yeah.
money driven.
Same.
Got to work as much as possible,
Yep.
sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. And I see it a lot. Whereas now it's my biggest goal isn't how much money I make. My goal is like how fulfilling and how purposeful is my life. Am I spending enough time with my son? Am I able to
That'd
get
be a
to
big thing.
sports every
Yeah.
single week? Sort of thing. And then same with my training as well. It's like things have dialed back quite a bit with that,
Mm.
purely because I just don't want to be too messed up and fucked
Yeah.
up spending time with my son. It's like
Yeah.
I absolutely love powerlifting, but then at a certain point, it does become fairly selfish.
Yeah.
Whereas now my training is starting to focus more on being selfless, doing
Mhm.
things and challenges that are actually going to serve my son and my family. Because at the end of the day, as a dad, that's my role is to protect and look after them. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That becomes your ultimate purpose at this point, right? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, like I will compete in powerlifting again. I just don't plan on doing it anytime soon. And even if I did do it, it's not going to be the only thing that I'm training for. So
You've competed before though, right? I'm trying to remember.
yeah, yeah, I competed. I think it's 3 times now.
Yep.
Um, yeah, mostly it's been fairly varied federations. I think the
Yep.
first one was CPL.
Way
Second
back when.
one was RPS, and then I think the third one was WPC. Uh,
Okay.
um, so fairly varied on that, but yeah, those were just the nearest competitions, and
Yeah. It just worked out. Yeah, they have a
yeah,
lot in Ottawa. Those guys.
exactly, exactly. But yeah, had a lot of fun with those. I think for the first two, I was coached by Stu, and then the third one I coached myself for, and that was where I hit. I think it was 628 on squat, 345 on bench, and like 625 on deadlift, I think it was.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, yeah, it's the cool thing about being coached by Stu, and I recommend anybody else who wants to get into like personal training or coaching themselves, like you need to have a coach first of all, and a
Sure.
good one, so
Yeah.
that you can learn the habits exactly. And you've got Paul there, and I'm sure you've
Yeah.
learned an absolute wealth of knowledge from
Oh yeah.
Paul.
Yeah. A lot.
Yeah, yeah. Likewise with Stu, and Paul was the one passing on that knowledge to Stu at the
Yep.
same time, so it was almost secondhand knowledge.
Like a big full circle-y thing there.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's what a lot of people that get wrong, that get into personal training and coaching themselves, is they've just never been taught by anybody else. And if you've never been taught by anybody else, how do you know how to teach? How do you know the best way to teach, sort of thing? So
Yeah, I feel like sometimes that gets lost right now
it
in this
is, yeah. We see it
generation.
a lot of young powerlifters. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, even just newer, any of the younger like fitness people, even like not even in powerlifting too.
yeah, yeah.
We've
Well,
seen a lot.
I didn't start personal training until I was what, 6 years ago now, so 25, 26 when I left and started working a good life. And even at 26, like I had so much more to learn about personal training and coaching. And if it wasn't for being led by a coach, Stu, then I would never have learned those things, sort of thing, and improved. So it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I'd say it's the same for me. Like I went through a bunch of different people, and I started when I was like really young,
Mm-hmm.
but like I don't think I was really good at it till I was like 27. I started at like
Yeah,
18.
it takes a lot of
Like
time.
casually part-timey.
Yeah.
And then like I look at what I did then and I'm like, the fuck did I do that?
but that experience and that's
Yeah,
kind of why I shit on Good Life a little bit for how hard I worked, but at the same time, it gave me so much experience, like the amount of people that walked through that doors.
well, you need your reps.
Exactly. And I was at like 120 hours plus a month. So I was servicing over 120 hours of PT every
Yep.
single month and was doing that for over a year. So within a year, I'd already worked with what, like nearly
1,000 sessions.
1,300 or something like that,
Yeah.
1,300 hours or whatever
Yep.
in person, which is quite a lot of time. And then you do that year after year after year, and
Oh
you've got
yeah.
hundreds of thousands of hours of experience to be able to put forward. And that's the biggest one, and is with training,
Skip it
nobody is the
now.
same, but
Yeah.
you will find similarities in client to client, even though the whole picture isn't exactly the same. So
Yep.
you run into certain issues, and it's like, oh, I have experience with dealing with somebody that has this. I can help you do this sort of thing. And if it wasn't for putting in all of those hours and working as hard as I did, I wouldn't have the experience and knowledge. So
Yeah, I also think like if you're gonna do the online stuff, I think you need a lot of in-person experience.
big
Or
time,
else
big
it,
time.
it doesn't quite hit as well.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
finally like because I'm pretty much niche into like mostly powerlifting. I do other stuff, but like I'll find too like they all think they have a unique journey. Like the first year is all pretty similar.
yeah.
Like you is different, but like the issues that they run into that they feel are unique are very similar.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I have elbow pain. It's like you and
Or even
every
just like
other
the mental, like
powerlifter.
I keep overshooting. Well, if we stop doing that, this will happen.
Exactly. Yeah, and the hours that you put in was the big thing that I learned in the military, especially when I was on like the shooting team.
Mhm.
Like we would go to the ranges every single day, and we would
Yeah.
put thousands of rounds down the range just practicing, and getting more experience. And then from that, it led to me being able to coach other people in shooting and train them for it and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So yeah, in the beginning, it definitely comes down to like gaining as much experience as you possibly can, working with as many different people as you can and varied people. And then from there, no matter who you counteract, or sorry, whoever you run into coaching powerlifting, they're not going to be that much
Yeah.
different from the people that you've met in person. If
No.
anything, those powerlifters are probably a little bit more motivated driven. And
Yeah.
it's probably more a case of how do we dial things back a little bit
A
to
lot of times.
keep moving forward.
Also, like the better they are, the easier it is. I find like if they're really, really good, I feel like it's you just gotta pick it. Like usually it's like the things you gotta find what's wrong.
Yeah, it's
But
usually the
like if
opposite
they're
though. It's like how do we dial these things back a little bit? It's like those people that
dialed
push
this
them.
up and this back, yeah,
Exactly, exactly. How do we pull things back a little bit so that you can keep recovering and progressing? Whereas, like for a lot of clients, I know for myself who like to push to failure all of the time and do not feel successful in a training session unless they failed something.
yeah.
For me, for instance, it's like, well, how do I dial things back a little bit and sort of switch that attitude off?
Hmm.
Um, is probably one of the biggest things I find with a lot of those like high performing athletes. It's not a case
Yep.
of pushing them, it's a case of
Just
pulling
being
them back a little bit.
yeah, and able to like put reins and guardrails on.
Exactly. Yeah,
To
literally.
keep
Yeah.
them,
Yeah. Some
focused.
blinkers as well, so they're not looking everywhere else. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that helps a lot. It's just one of those things where it's like I think it's just an evolution with stuff, and I think a lot of lifters. Sometimes I think in the beginning I find people got to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I was one of them, like
Yep.
very aggressive with like the way that I lifted, like every single set was 100% effort and getting myself riled up and aggressive before it and stuff like that. But then what I found is after those sort of workouts, I was crashing and
Yep.
felt so tired and drained for the rest of the day that I wanted to just go home and go to bed. So it was taking away from my ability to actually do things after the workout. So that was kind of the biggest reason why I wanted to pull things back a little bit. But yeah, those high performance, they will run themselves into the ground. So it's instead of encouraging them and saying, "Oh, good job," it's
It's like a different way of, yeah,
yeah,
doing mine.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
very, very different. So, but you'll still run into those sort of people, even working at Good Life. You'll find it's still they're rare, but you'll
Yeah.
find like one or two clients that are very, very driven and motivated.
Or they're just
Uh,
motivated at that time and they're like, I'm gonna do everything. And they're like, hello.
Yeah, I mean, so you kind of run into two people. You run into like the high performers who are very motivated that you kind of need to pull back a little bit. Then you run into the low performers who are highly motivated. Those are the people that end up trying to do everything all at once and try
And
to
then
do
they quit
two.
in like a week. Yeah.
Say again, sorry.
And then they quit in like a week.
Exactly, they just end up overloading themselves, and that's kind of why I take the approach of like one step at
Yeah,
a
right.
time.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, this week we're not even going to set a goal of like macros, we're just going to track and find out what you're eating. And then
Yeah.
next week, okay, we're going to stick within this range for protein and protein only. I don't care about anything else. So more about trying to like reduce the amount of load on them straight away leads to a greater runway of success. It's kind of like those people that don't do anything all year long, and then all of a sudden
January.
like, oh, I need to get in shape for summer and I've only got 6 weeks. And it's like, that's not going to happen in 6 weeks, because you're going to end up doing too much. You're either going to get injured or you end up going to burn yourself out, and within 2 weeks you're going to be like, I'm not doing this anymore. Whereas if like you spent the entire year just adding those habits slowly throughout the course, by the
Mhm.
time you get to summer, you've already got those habits in place where you can go out and train harder. um, but that's kind of the world where we live in today, where a lot of people want things and think that they can be done within 6 weeks. And it's like, no, it's going to take more than a 6 week fat
Yeah.
burning
Well,
thing.
I think some of that is the industry as well and the marketing tools and tactics that everyone's starting to, or not everyone, but I think
Yeah,
it's very much pushed by
it
the
is. Yeah, quick fixes. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Or like even just like how you want to market things. Like I've had people try to tell me like, just say that you do this in 6 weeks. And
No,
I'm like, no.
no.
But like a lot of people do that and it's like, or they'll be like super like it would be like me if I was like, I'm gonna go get shredded. But it's like I have muscle mass. So once I lose the fat, I'm gonna look decent.
Yeah,
Whereas like if a regular person were to do that, then they'll be disappointed because they're like, I just lost 30 pounds. I look the same-ish.
exactly. Yeah, because they didn't really focus time on building that muscle mass. And
Mhm.
there's kind of an issue that we run into with a lot of clients who focus on cardio only as well. It's
Yeah.
like, you could, if you're constantly using cardio as a tool to manage your weight and lose weight, the moment that you take a break or you get injured and you can't
Just
do that cardio, you're going to gain all of
kidding.
that weight. Whereas if you had a great muscle base and
Yep.
lots of muscle there anyway, you're going to maintain that weight for a lot longer than somebody who doesn't. And then
Mhm.
on top of it, you're going to have way more calories available to consume throughout a
It's
day.
to burn more calories, just basically. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, if you want to lead a life where you're able to go out of the weekend and enjoying a treat and all the rest of it, you need to spend a year first putting yourself and building all of that muscle before you can actually be in a place to say, hey, I can go out this weekend and I can treat myself and it's not going to do anything towards my goals because I've got a 4,000 calorie allowance sort of thing. And it's like,
Like burn
you can
some
fit
muscle.
anything you want into 4,000 calories. Whereas the person who's constantly running, they're probably only going to be able to eat like 1,500 to 2,000 calories before they start gaining weight, sort of thing. So yeah, it's we see it a lot in like a lot of those cardio crowds and stuff. It's like, we need,
Yeah, I think a lot of it is too like information wise, just getting it out to people, but
yeah, I don't think people realize quite how good muscle is as a fat burning tool.
look at fat loss as fat loss. They don't look at it like
Yeah, they're like, oh, I've got to burn those calories, instead of like, well, how can I consume more calories and still
they
be,
want to sweat.
Yeah, and it's like build muscle. Yeah, it's like I can go out this weekend and I can eat an entire pizza and it's not actually going to do anything to my weight, sort of thing, because I'm still within that 4,000 calorie range or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think people have got it sort of backwards. They want to lead that lifestyle where they're like, oh, I want to go out the weekend and enjoy a drink and a beer and stuff like that. And it's like, well,
Which is
no,
great.
you need to do this time first, and then you've allowed yourself the opportunity to go do that sort of thing.
Yeah, kind of got to earn it and like take care of yourself in like the right ways.
Exactly, exactly. Like I go out with Paul sometimes, like whenever we go for food, and that guy can absolutely eat, and he won't put on any weight whatsoever. Like he'll still stay with abs and jacked and all the rest of it. So it just shows like if you build more muscle, you're going to allow yourself the room to go out and enjoy life a lot more than somebody who's just constantly running on a treadmill.
Yeah, because like right now I'm cutting on like 3,500 calories.
And you're still losing weight, and that's a lot forever. That is a lot
Yeah.
of calories, sort of thing.
Like I feel fine. Like I'm not like I did get hungry, and which is like wild.
Yeah, yeah. But
But
that's the thing. Like that room where you now need to lose weight is so much higher. Whereas somebody that has no muscle mass and they're consuming like 2,500 calories on a maintenance, when
yeah,
they remove that, they're still not going to lose that much more weight. Whereas you, like, you could take away 100 calories and that's quite a decent serving and will reduce your weight by quite a bit, sort of thing. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty wild. But yeah, I think like there's just more like trainers need to. It's hard because I feel like reaching people is always like the weird one. Because like you're telling them kind of what they're not hearing or what they maybe don't want to hear in a way. Because I remember I would like sometimes I'll get like not now, but when I was running the gym back in the day, I would have girls come in and they'd be like, "You're the trainer?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "So are you gonna make me be you?" And I'm like, "No, you would have to eat thousands of calories of steroids." And then like they would work with me and they'd be like, "Wow, I look amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, it's called building muscle." But I think a lot of that's perception. They had a hard time. A lot of them I have to like really talk them through it before their
yeah.
brain would be like, hmm.
Well, especially women in general, like they're very fearful of bulking and like sort of putting
Fair.
on a massive amount of weight. But it's
Yeah.
like I am yet to meet a woman who's able to put on muscle the way that they are scared of putting on muscle. It just doesn't work like that.
I
Like you
only
are,
know one.
yeah. But even
She
then,
was
it's
like
probably
very naturally like
yeah,
able to put on mass. Yeah.
yeah. And was they weight training beforehand or
They were.
yeah,
But yeah, she even like when she was younger, like she was a trainer I used to work with. Like,
yeah.
you could just tell like shoulders were big. And she was like, yeah, whenever I work out after, like she had to actually try not to put on muscle
Okay.
her body.
There are some women with like slightly higher testosterone
Yeah,
levels,
and
like
that was like what she discovered. She's like, my testosterone's actually like naturally very high.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So that was like an underlying medical issue as to why she managed to gain so
yeah.
much muscle like that. But like
But no one else.
typically
I've never met
women
anyone else
don't
that can
do
do that.
that. And
Yeah,
when they do train, it takes them years to be able to put on that sort of muscle mass. You look at like Olivia, for
yeah.
instance.
Oh yeah, she's like a
She's
good
been training for like however
over a decade of
exactly,
of
yeah, at least like 12 years sort of thing. And it's
Yep.
taken her 12 years to put on that much muscle.
Mhm.
And it doesn't work like that for women. And even then, like Liv still looks very feminine and great and all the rest of it. It's not like she turned into a man by lifting, sort of thing.
No.
So it's yeah, it's I think people are scared. They read a lot of sort of like horror stories, or they see a lot of horror stories where this woman.
Oh, social media is great for that one.
It's great.
It's
It's
great for like
fear mongering
inspiring,
and
but it can
stuff.
be also the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we see it in everything else, like a lot of
Yeah.
fear mongering around like vegetable oils and fear mongering around like a lot of other things where it's like, sure, those things are bad for you, but like the dose that you would have and the amount that you would have to consume before that actually becomes a problem for you is through the roof. And like, we need to address that consumption issue, not the actual thing that you're taking in, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lot of people used to kick off about what the Pepsi Zero sugars and stuff like that. It's got
All
aspartame
that
in and
things.
stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And it's like to actually have a deadly dose of aspartame in your system, I think you have to drink something like 30 to 40 cans of Diet Pepsi a day or something.
Yeah. It was something like that. My nutrition professor way back in the day, she was
Yeah.
all the time people would get on her and she said something like that. She's like, it's not
Yep.
even like it's not over time. I'd have to do that in a day.
Exactly. Yeah, that's 30, 40 counts every single day for you to be able to get to that sort of amount. So there's lots of fear mongering, and like we see on social media, lots of tactics. It's like, oh, don't use vegetable oil, use my oil instead, and all the rest of it. And it's like, well, that's just a sale sort of thing. Same with like,
But yeah.
yeah, same with like on social media, we'll see like some personal trainers or some female coaches be like, oh, do weight training without getting bulky and stuff like that. And it's like, well, you're just pushing into
Or
the
the other thing
fear.
I've seen is like girls that I know that train probably like live,
Yeah,
but when they post stuff that's like cable kickbacks
yeah,
and their booty workout, and it's like I look at it and I'm like, this is not, it doesn't look like what you do, but okay.
yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, it's fear mongering. We see it in like all shapes and sizes on social media. Like people, and it's usually coming from people that wouldn't do that stuff anyway, and they're just trying to hold back others and prevent them from actually making a change in their life because they're unwilling to actually change their life, sort of thing. It's kind of like the whole pushing the sort of fat acceptance side of things. Like it's okay to be obese and like grossly overweight and stuff like that. And it's like those coaches aren't trying to help you or change you. They're trying to take your money because they're not actually changing anything. If it's okay for you to be fat and obese, why would you need a coach?
Yeah, why would you be pursuing the goal of losing weight?
Exactly. And we see a lot of coaches out there that are like, oh, we are like fat friendly and all the rest of it. And
What? Never heard
fat
this.
friendly or
I haven't
whatever it
heard this one
is
yet.
and stuff like that. And it's just like, you're not doing them a service. You're just heading into this sort of like social media
Yeah. I
fad.
think like I think people should like themselves, but yeah, going like this far is yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like if somebody was put heroin into their body, would you say to them, "Oh, you're doing a good job," and all the rest
No.
of it? Like, no, you would say to them, "You should stop doing that." Same
Yeah.
with like somebody that's like grossly obese, and like at
Yeah.
some point you're gonna run into diabetes on top of
Yep.
like knee issues. Like for instance, my mom, she's always been fairly overweight, but by the age of 32, she had both of her knees replaced because she had blown
Wow.
them out with arthritis. And it's
That's
like that's the sort of stuff that happens when you are massively overweight. Um, so yeah, it just shows that it's eventually you are going to run into health issues just by accepting. And at the end of the day, it's like you could be happy with the who you are and all the rest of it, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be challenging yourself and
you definitely
trying to
could.
do better because we're
Yeah,
all
you
not
need to.
perfect. So
No, you definitely need to. That's just,
exactly.
and I think like that's where things get misconstrued.
Yeah. Yeah.
Realistically, I think that's where people like they're try like they might have sometimes I think they have good intentions, sometimes not. I think
Yeah.
it depends. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for a lot of those coaches as well, they're just trying to create a safe space for that person to not actually challenge themselves and do better. They're just creating a safe space for them to remain the same.
Safe comfort space, basically.
Exactly. And
Like
it's
almost like a support group in a way.
yeah, yeah. And it's like as a trainer, you're not being honest.
It's not really your job. No.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
their friend's job. Your job is to coach them.
Exactly. So we see it in all sides of like social media has been a big one for like pushing all of these fear mongerings and then acceptance, and then on top of it, it's like if it's okay to be fat, then why is everybody all of a sudden taking Ozempic as well? Is the other big one. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's totally fair. That is a definitely an interesting one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's why it's like Lizzo, for instance, like she was very accepting of the way that she looks. She's like, oh, I'm obese and it's okay if everybody else is fat too, and all the rest of it. And
Mhm.
then she jumps on Ozempic and it's like, so it's not okay to be fat? I'm confused. Uh,
Yeah. I think sometimes I feel like now like integrity isn't always as big of a thing, maybe.
I don't know if it's integrity or whether it's their own personal beliefs that have like led them down this sort of
I think some people don't have strong personal beliefs either.
yeah, or they just haven't like read into it enough,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I know trainers out there who encourage that it's okay to be overweight and all the rest of it and stuff like that. And then my kind of thought process is like, well, then why do I need you as a coach if that's your thoughts and your beliefs sort of thing? So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like you're trying to make it a fat friendly space and get more clients, but then at the same time, like if you're not going to challenge them and do anything, then what's the point in having a coach?
Well, yeah, it's almost like odd marketing
Yeah, it's very weird marketing.
because it's like, we'll bring them in, but then like you are going to have to get them to do some of the stuff to challenge that. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Well, they're going to have to change their perception around what this is, and that's the big thing. Is like a lot of people become very comfortable with not comfortable, but like accepting of the way that they are, and they're just unwilling to go out and seek a challenge to change and become better. And that's kind of what I want to do with my coaching. Is like, how can I challenge you so that you become the better person that you want to be? And like, I get it feedback from a lot of clients, like Cass, for instance, like she's a big believer that a lot of like the mental health stuff and the mental resilience side of things that I put on her has been a big game changer for her to be able to compete at the level that she is, sort of thing.
It's very good.
Yeah, and she's somebody that I've worked with, I think, 3 years now. It's been quite a while that we've been working together. But over that time and like where she is now, she didn't start as this number one powerlifter in Canada sort of thing. It was like your very basic 17 to your 18-year-old girl going to the gym, doing
I want
those
to lift something. Yeah.
exactly with those squats with the booty popped back and all the rest of it sort of
Yeah.
thing. It takes a long time, and I think Cass is in a place where she's able to contend at the top and beat the best sort of thing now. So
Yeah, I think that's like really cool. I think that's what you need to strive for as a coach too, right? And it's always cool to like see that actually like play out.
yeah,
Or like
yeah,
reminds you like why you're doing what you're doing.
it's incredibly rewarding, and
Yeah.
like being in the military, the entire reason I did that was to be in servitude to others and give my life to actually for a better cause and for a cause bigger than me.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do now. Is I want to work with people, I want to serve people, I want to help them and challenge them and get them to a place where they can either go out and do some of the things that I've gone and done or face the challenges and
For
obstacles.
their own
Yeah,
like
and
journey, right?
exactly, yeah,
Yeah, because I know for me, even it's like very similar. Like I've had some like really young people I've worked with, and like I've had some like I had one that medaled at Worlds, and that was really cool. But then I had
yeah,
other ones be like, "Are you proud?" I'm like, they were kind of like, "So are you like what are you most proud of?" And they're like, Was it him?" And I'm like, "It's kind of everybody
yeah, yeah.
happen
Like,
to do that." But I'm like, "There's other ones." I'm like, "You guys developed as young men," and I thought that was really cool because some of them had like a lot of behavioral issues,
yeah,
and then after coaching, their parents were like, "Hey, these kids are different." I'm like, "Then I did my job." Yeah,
good, good. Yeah, no, I actually worked with Cass's boyfriend as well, Alex, and I
yeah,
started working with him at the exact same time. And started working with him as a young man, and he's gone on to now serve in the military as well. And now
awesome.
he also wants to go on to coach other people and help train them for powerlifting competitions. Um, so yeah, like getting to the world stage, like I'm obviously very proud of all of my clients that compete at the highest level. But the people who are could just competing against themselves and just sort of getting through that, like and
That's so
getting through
awesome.
that whole
It's
own
like the
chain
same.
challenges,
Yeah,
yeah, it's huge. It's very, very rewarding to see somebody overcome that and make a positive change in their life that isn't just going to help them. My
it
big
helps.
one is like, who
Yeah,
is that person then going to help with the knowledge that they've gone and got? Like, are they going to pass on these healthy habits to their children? Are their children going to go on to do amazing things as well because of it? So it's incredibly rewarding, especially when you think this isn't just helping that client. That
no,
client is then going to go on to help other people as well, whether it be a tip in the gym sort of thing. So,
yeah, no,
yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. So how do you feel? So we'll kind of wrap it up a bit, but how
yeah.
do you feel based off that? Do you feel that you're in line with your mission, and what is like what will you do to like kind of make that like you're trying to make it bigger, or like how are you gonna try to like build your impact, or what are you trying to do with it?
Yeah, so my mission is more about making people capable, and that's capable of dealing with any obstacle that comes their way. For me as a father, like lots of obstacle comes in our way. Like at a moment's notice, we could be running across the road to chase after a child. Uh, reflexing and jumping out of the way sort of thing to try and catch that child if it falls and all the rest of it. I know being a dad, there's been plenty of situations where if I didn't jump and grab that kid, then there would have been a nasty bruise or a nasty bump. Not always devastating, but like the
Could
last
be.
thing you want to do is see somebody get hurt that you love. So, and then on top of that, I want to help coach people to be strong and
Mhm.
resilient individuals who lead with purpose and then take pride in who they are and show up consistently even when it's hard.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's like that.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I want my mission is to try and find a purpose, a reason why people are training
Mhm.
and help them to do that sort of thing, whether it be a better dad, go off and run a 10K, compete in powerlifting sort of thing. Um, but yeah, I draw heavily on like my life experiences as well. I know what it's like to feel pressure and carry responsibility, and the need to serve a purpose beyond aesthetics and numbers, and that's kind of why I've taken a step away from powerlifting as much as it was the purpose was always about a number, and it's like, well, that purpose isn't actually serving me or my life
Yeah.
other than this arbitrary number that doesn't actually do anything. So that's why I've kind of stepped away and said, I'm training, and this is the reason why I'm training. It isn't for this number that I've set in my head.
For other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, my approach is more than just about strength. It's about helping people uncover their why
Mhm.
and rebuild after setbacks and then form habits that make them confident, disciplined, and fulfilled is the big one. Is like your training should be fulfilling. Like there should be a big reason why you're doing it, sort of thing. And then yeah, I want to see clients lead others as well. So
Yeah.
not just people who work out, but people who live with intent and set a standard for others and
Yeah.
earn respect through consistent action.
Mm.
At heart, training with purpose leads to living with purpose, and that's the mission that I'm here for.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's awesome. I think like more coaches should have this view. I think a lot do, but
They
I feel
do.
like
I think a
it
lot of it
feels
gets sort of like washed away in all of the
with
noise,
all
sort
the
of thing.
grandeur of everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they've got so many things going on. It's hard, and then at the same time, you don't want to always be relaying why all of the time,
No.
especially as it becomes more about that. Like so,
Yeah, I
but
get
then
that.
the problem becomes you're not reminding people as well, or like letting new people know why you're sort of doing what you're doing. So it's
Well, I mean, as long as you have the purpose, I think that's all that really matters
exactly, yeah,
for yourself, right?
yeah.
Well, yeah, no, this was awesome, Nate. Do you have anything else you want to go over?
No, I'm pretty good, dude.
Yeah, I think we're good. So where can people find you?
So if you head over to masterathleticperformance.com, you'll be able to learn more about MAP and Paulo Need and Liv, who I work with and for. And then on top of it, Instagram, Nat underscore, sorry, coach underscore Nat underscore Galloway over on Instagram. And yeah, if you need anything or want to drop me a message or ask any questions from this podcast today, then feel free.
Awesome, Nate. Thank you for coming on.
No problem, John. Thanks for having me, dude.
No worries. All right.